Okay, let's make sure that we start our call on time so that we can cover everything.
Yeah, good luck.
So, hello everyone. My name is Dipali Narsikar and I head the Allyship program at Women in Streaming Media. Women in Streaming Media is a global network and not everyone can join this call at the same time. So, because of the obvious reason, different time zones. So, this call is being recorded, and we make sure that members can watch it and learn at their convenience. It's going to be available on our website. And once again, welcome, and we're thrilled to have you here with us today. Today's call is a wonderful opportunity for us to gather, share our experiences, and advance our commitment to foster the inclusivity within the streaming media industry, particularly for women. Today's call agenda is packed with excitement. And first, we will give you a quick introduction about women in streaming media and our allyship program, especially for our new members. Next, I will introduce you to our awesome allyship team. A quick introduction, not long. Leto will introduce today's Ally of the Month, and following that, we will engage in a learning discussion on how to leverage Ally Network on LinkedIn for professional success. We have some curated questions, but feel free to ask anything using the chat window. And finally, we will conclude our call by sharing our upcoming event details and more about how to connect with our ally and how to connect with our allyship team. So once again, thank you so much for joining our network. We want to ensure that today's call is meaningful and inspiring for everyone involved. So let's get started. I'll start with my introduction. I've been working in the streaming media industry for almost 2 decades, focusing on launching, expanding, and developing OTT services. Currently, I'm based in London and work as an independent OTT consultant, collaborating with OTT platforms and streaming media companies. My Since my university days, I'm a big passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And here at Women in Streaming Media, I lead the allyship program. Now I'll pass it to Leto for her introduction.
Hello, my name is Lito Baksevanaki, and I come from the software engineering sector. It's the last 3 years that I work as an engineering manager in Bitmoving in the video streaming sector and mostly on playback solutions. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Leto. Since we're always getting the new members, I always start the call with introducing everyone to Women in Streaming Media Network and our allyship program. As a global networking organization, our mission is to increase the diversity and give more visibility to women leaders within the streaming media industry. Our free membership connect with the supportive community of women in all areas of streaming media industry. Our speaking engagement team helps to participate in industry events and discussions, and our award-winning mentorship program helps women in the streaming media industry to gain the valuable guidance from experienced industry leaders. Our education vertical constantly working on empowering the next generation of women through the various activities such as hackathon or speaker confidence program. And most importantly, the Ally of the Month call and our allyship program aims to drive the meaningful change by understanding the privilege, creating awareness, and practicing allyship with daily activities and actions. We like more men in the streaming media industry to lead by example and amplify women's voices, support their representation. Early 2024, we started our allyship program, which is like primarily aiming to the streaming media industry allies, spot the potential leaders in the industry, have the regular conversation with them, and provide the opportunities for the activities such as AMA session or panel discussion or a learning workshop such as today's, all gathered towards the advancing the women in streaming media industry. Okay, we are going to be present on the different events at the different events. We were at Stream TV, we were at NAB, and we are going to be there at IBC as well. The more details you will come to know in the next month regarding the IBC, and I will also share more details towards the end of this call. All right, the wait is over. Let's start with the introduction of our Ally of the Month.
Okay, I'm really happy to welcome Adam in this session of Ally of the Month. Adam comes to us from England, where he is the co-founder and chief growth officer at Ovyo. Am I saying it correctly? Ovyo, right? Okay. And one of the fastest growing providers of software and project delivery services to the video streaming industry. But alongside his professional endeavors, he's also committed to promoting DEI initiatives, and he is a huge supporter of women in video streaming media and broadcast markets. In 2023, he was awarded Ally of the Year for his work helping hundreds of women elevate and evangelize their professional brand on LinkedIn. So I think it would be best that Adam shares more about his journey. So Adam, welcome, and the floor is yours.
No, thank you. Do you know what? I've never, ever in my life actually had an introduction to anything. So I think this is the first time for everything. So
Okay.
yeah, I'd like that. Thanks, Leto. I'll forever remember you, Leto, now for the rest of my life. Hello everyone. So I'm Adam Tilbury-Eld, and as Leto mentioned, I'm currently the co-founder and chief growth officer at Ovyo. And yep, we work in the streaming industry. We do professional services, software development, amongst various other services. It's about 4 years old. We launched 2 weeks before the pandemic, and we've grown to about 130 people all over the world, basically. My background before that was very much in services and then technical recruitment. So I was in recruitment for about 15 years. And I've been on LinkedIn since about 2004, if I remember correctly. Since a little claim to fame, I was one of the top 100 LinkedIn connections when it first came out. The platform did in 2004. I was in they were called Lions, LinkedIn Open Networkers, and I was in the top 100. So that's a little claim to fame back in the day. And then launched Ovyo 4 years ago. And at the same time of launching Ovyo, obviously COVID hit about 2 weeks after we set up Ovyo. And so we ended up having to do a bit of a pivot, and randomly a lot of my connections, I'd been doing LinkedIn training kind of part-time alongside my day job of growing Ovyo. And when COVID hit, nobody wanted services, software development and stuff, everything went on hold. And funny enough, a few contacts of mine asked me to train their sales team on LinkedIn, which I did, and that was quite fun. But then I ended up falling kind of into the allyship kind of mode when one of the organizations that support women in streaming asked me to do some training for some young women in the video industry. And that was about 4 years ago. And it's kind of just spiraled since then and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I suppose that's kind of what kind of leads me to this call today, I suppose, is that for the last 4 years, I've just been doing more and more and more to help women. And I think really it's elevate their brand, elevate their voice, and give them confidence. That's probably the main thing I've done. And I was like many men in this industry before. I was pretty oblivious, and I wasn't really aware of the challenges women faced in our industry until I started talking to mentees and women in the industry about the challenges they faced. And then it becomes an eye-opener. And so that kind of opened my eyes and started to help. And then you start to see different little success stories all over the industry of how you can help people and that. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years, helping people. So that's me.
Trying to unmute myself. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Adam, for sharing. So what would allyship mean for you?
Yeah, so I'd say allyship for me is about supporting women in our industry. And when I say our industry, I work in the streaming video media industry as well. And so it's about supporting women in helping them have a voice, have confidence, be heard, be seen, get equal opportunities. And I do that personally a lot via LinkedIn. So a lot of people know me as, you know, Katie definitely knows me as Mr. LinkedIn. So I do a lot of training on LinkedIn for women in our industry. And that's it really. It's about equaling the odds a little bit and showing people that although we're in an industry which we all can admit is quite dominated by men, or has been over the years, it's definitely getting better. I think now's a real time to elevate people's voices, and with platforms like LinkedIn, it's a lot easier to do. So so I think that, yeah, for me, allyship is about supporting that really, and not being afraid to stand up and being ally as well. You know, I've had plenty of chats with Dipali over the last few weeks about the topic. And yeah, I think not being afraid to stand up, be counted, show people that you're an ally, and when people ask for help, help them, you know, and point them in the right direction. So yeah, I'd say that's what allyship is for me.
Yep. Thank you, Adam. Since we started about LinkedIn, can you share some tips for identifying potential allies on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I've been well, a couple of people have been on my training courses that I do on the call, right? So they'll know a few of these tips. But I think using LinkedIn is about, for me, it's about searching. If you're looking for allies and people within companies, it's about searching for allies. And one of the ways you can do that, because again, I was talking to Dipali about this earlier, like how do you actually find allies? How do you know who is an ally and stuff? And, you know, in the ideal world, every ally has plastered on their LinkedIn profile at the top, I'm an ally to women streaming. But not all of them do. So they're the easy ones to find. So for me, it's about searching and finding these people. So there are different ways you can do this. And one of the ways is to, when you look at all the organizations out there, like Women in Streaming Media, who help women in streaming media, have a look at who the allies are that engage in the posts on LinkedIn. So if you follow me about that, so I think I can share my screen, can't I? Let me share my screen. Can you see that all right?
Yep.
Okay. Can you see my chin is what I'm saying? No.
Yeah.
So there's my chin. What I mean by that is when you go on some post, and when I say by women in streaming, these could be posts by Alicia, they could be posts by Dipali, yourself, Leto, Peggy, Katie as well. So these could be posts by anyone that are talking about women in streaming and supporting women in streaming. A lot usually happens around events, around NAB and IBC. So one way to find allies is start to look at who engages in these posts, right? Who comments, who likes, who's the supporter? Because generally, if people are just not interested or not supporting, they won't like, they won't comment, they won't engage. So just take this, for example, if you click on who reacted, I think this was the post that Megan did a few weeks ago. I think it was 3 weeks ago, and it was some new face. It was the Denver meetup that the Women in Streaming did. And again, obviously, the main thing I would do is look at who has commented on it and who has liked it. So when you scroll down, you see straight away Mitch, Paul, Joe, Alexis. These are people I know as well. This is a real quick way to find people who are supporters of women in streaming and allies. You know, you can go one step further and you can look at who's been a mentor in the past and do like keyword searches and stuff. But that's one of the ways that I do it. And when you start doing this on a lot of the posts, you soon start to see people who are the supporters and the allies. You know, so personally, I engage in most of the posts about diversity and women in streaming, the ones that I find on my feed. So that's one of the ways to do it. So as you scroll down, you'll see people like, obviously Juan, he was ally of the month a few months ago, so I know Juan. So you know, Jason, most of you, if any of you know these people, you'll know they're allies, right? So, and that's a good way to spot other allies. So definitely that's one way to, I would say, find allies. You can just search people's profiles. I was doing this earlier to prove my point. So I was searching things like women in streaming. I was searching like women in streaming and diversity. I was searching women and DEI. And you look for the keywords because a lot of people, a lot of allies do put it on their LinkedIn profile. If you look at mine, for example, obviously I'm an ally. I talk about being ally of the year in my header. I talk about it in my about section, and then in my featured section, I actually have posts that talk about it as well. I mean, I am proud to win Ally of the Year last year, so I have that as my first post. This was me and Rich Welsh. If anyone knows Rich, he's probably the most awesome ally you'll ever meet. So Rich also, we shared the award last year. Me and Rich did. But yeah, that's what I would say for searching out allies. And you'll soon start to spot the ones that are passionate about it, the ones that comment on every post, the ones that dive in on every post, the ones that are happy to promote. And if a woman raises an interesting topic about like a trade show not being very diverse or an interview panel, who are the men that dare to comment and like that? Who are the ones that will support that and say, yeah, true? That's when you start to spot the real allies. That's when you spot the ones that are not afraid to, I don't know, look like they're like get told off by their companies for, you know, I think I never forget a post that a friend of mine did. She went to a certain summit, which is around IBC, and she called it out for lack of diversity on LinkedIn. And she just happened to use a picture of me. I was like, oh, what are you doing? But in the end, I was like, no, it's true. There was a lack of diversity there. And so we posted about that on LinkedIn. So you'll soon start to spot allies like that on LinkedIn for sure. So, so that's one way to do it.
Yeah, simple tips, but I think they can be really productive.
Yeah.
Good. So, okay, we spot the allies, right? So what are some effective ways to initiate and build some kind of meaningful relationship with allies on LinkedIn?
So the power of LinkedIn, which I often talk about in my sessions, is all about mutual connections. So having mutual connections with people, building your network, which then effectively leads to opportunities and stuff. So I'll tell you, I'll stop sharing for now. Otherwise, he'll just stare at my face for the next 10 minutes. So, you know, when I do my session on LinkedIn for people, first of all, it's about sorting your profile out. That's one thing. But the second session is all about building relationships, who to connect to, how to connect, when to connect, all that kind of stuff. And this is what applies to allies, right? So when you see these people commenting on posts supporting women in streaming, don't be afraid to just connect to them, right? But you've got to kind of personalize your connection request to them, right? Every time, all right? And you'll be shocked. And I'm sure you can all testify for this, that there is so much crap on LinkedIn. And you get so many spam messages. Everybody does all the time. Spam, sell, lead generation services, everything, right? You get a load of spam on LinkedIn. So when somebody genuinely like pings you and asks for some help or advice or tips or guidance, it's actually a breath of fresh air on LinkedIn itself, right? So I often encourage, when I mean, I think every year I now train over 100 mentees. And what I say to them is reach out to people in your network, allies, and not just allies, obviously senior women in the industry who are proven to help promote other women. Reach out to them as well, right? Build your network, but do drop them a comment. And, you know, I see it as ways to do that, to build those relationships, is drop them a like on something they post. Drop them a comment, right? Tag them in something. And I call it almost like, it's almost like getting to know somebody first. It's almost the chit chat. You know, back in, I don't know, 20 years ago when we first had Facebook, it was equivalent to a poke where you just like say hi to people. Because then when you do drop them a message, they'll go, oh, okay, right. I've seen you before. You've liked my post before, you've engaged. You know, so I get 20 connection requests a day on LinkedIn. And every now and then I get somebody like, hey, Adam, I heard you do this. I'm quite fascinated the way you do this. I'd love to connect. And I'm like, straight away, I'll connect straight away. Just because they've actually shown they've looked at my LinkedIn profile, they've seen some what I've done. You know, like I think I never forget one I got the other. I don't connect with salespeople when they try and sell me something. But one lady pinged me, Adam, I'm very new into my role. I've just had a baby. Your picture of your baby on LinkedIn actually caught my attention. Would love to connect with you and get some tips on how I sell you this HR platform. I was like, you know what? As much as it's a sales approach, because you've actually personalized your message, I'm going to actually say yes. And to this day, I think I actually tried to hire her 2 times since then, because she's actually really good on LinkedIn and engaging people. So I think if you're going to connect with allies, if you're going to build relationships, is just engage with them, comment on their stuff. You know, if you've got a view, if they post something on LinkedIn, share a view, engage, you know, and that's what I encourage a lot of people to do, because you'll soon start to see then they'll connect with you, right? Rather than you having to connect with them, they'll send you a connection as, oh, thank you, Peggy for engaging in my content, or thank you, Peggy, for that. It was a really good input. And you'll soon start to see. So that's how I think you would build, you know, good relationships on LinkedIn with allies, for sure. And don't be afraid to call a spade, right? If somebody is commenting on a woman in streaming post, right, connect with them. Hey, I saw your comment on Megan's post, on Alicia's post. Would love to connect to you for future opportunities, right? Or for networking purposes, you know, as an ally, would love to connect with you, right? And again, you're not selling anything. And so you've just beat 99% of the junk messages that go out on LinkedIn. So straight away, people will engage with you, you know? Yeah.
Okay.
Hope that helps.
Yep, I think it's helpful, and yeah, but sometimes you need the courage to reach out, right? But this is quite reassuring.
Yeah.
So do you have any like examples of successful collaborations or partnerships that were initiated, like, or nurtured through LinkedIn connections?
Yes, yeah. So I did think about this a lot earlier, and like, it's very hard to give specifics because I've been on LinkedIn since 2004, and obviously 10, 15 years of that was recruitment. So my job was to get people jobs, right? And I used to do it on LinkedIn all the time. So, you know, more recently, since I've joined helping women in streaming, I've helped hundreds of women get new jobs, secure new opportunities. So, and that might not actually be a day job. Some of them might want to just bring in their side hustle, right? So I've got one lady who I was helping on LinkedIn, and she said, I actually want to become like a wellness coach. And day jobs was like a product manager or something. So I actually showed her how she could bring that wellness coaching onto LinkedIn, launched her own podcast, and then the side hustle actually became the day job, and she swapped it over. That was quite a good kind of example of somebody. I mean, there's countless people who I've helped them reword their LinkedIn profile to help them get jobs. You know, I'm sure there's tons of people that would testify that that's a good use of LinkedIn to get new jobs. I think some of the ones that are a bit more rare that you don't hear about a lot is things like when I connect people on LinkedIn, the sales. So two companies come together to sell, two companies come together to become partnerships. That's an obvious one. But things like when women are going to trade shows, I didn't realize this was a problem until I got involved in helping women in streaming. And going to a trade show for the first time as a woman can be quite daunting. You know, even just last night, I was talking to a lady who's off to IBC this year for the first time. She was like, it all looks a bit daunting. Where do I start? What do I do? How do I stay safe? And just that in its own right, I was like, wow. So again, what I've done is I've connected her to about 10 other women on LinkedIn, just brought them together and said, here's 10 people that I know are going to the IBC. They were in your shoes last year, the year before, and the year before. I'm sure they would help you. Let's connect. And so, you know, she's now connected with them. And so little things like that, that's the power of LinkedIn for me, is connecting people that like that you know and use it. And even that's the role of the ally in this as well, is that I've been in the industry a long time. So I might not necessarily be the person that can solve the problem, but I sure as hell know people in LinkedIn who can. So that's why I make the connection, you know, every time. So yeah, I suppose that's some of the examples on LinkedIn. I'm sure there's hundreds more, but yeah, that's the main ones. And another example live here today is I had a session with Katie a few weeks ago about LinkedIn, and then she passed that knowledge on to Peggy, and then Peggy picked some tips off it. And that was LinkedIn collaboration, right? So it's proof that it works.
Yeah, so like sharing tips is good, but also sharing like common mistakes that we should avoid when reaching out can also be helpful.
Yeah,
Like,
so when it comes to reaching out to people, messaging people and trying to connect on LinkedIn, I have one golden rule, right? Don't sell. Yeah, right? Don't sell on LinkedIn. I mean, I do sales training on LinkedIn for some people. I do a lot of training, but I say to people, don't try and sell in the first call. Always drop them a note and personalize it and add some value, or at least do one of them, but just don't sell. You know, that's what I say to all, like if, say, for example, you're applying for a job and you've just found the line manager on LinkedIn, don't go straight in for the kill of, hey, I saw a job on LinkedIn and I know you're the manager and I want that job, please connect with me. You've almost gone for the kill too soon, you know? So you just want to do that gentle connection, which is, again, like some of their stuff, engage. If they've not posted anything, drop them a connection request and use the mutual connection. Hello, so-and-so. I noticed you're connected to so-so, so am I. Would love to connect with you. So somewhat basic like that. just don't go for the jugular on that connection when you're reaching out, you know, and where possible, like try to always bring something to it to show them that you've actually looked at their profile or you've looked at them, right? So because that's the biggest mistake I get so many people, whether it be job seekers, whether it be people selling me stuff, whether it's people asking about, and they just message me, they don't know nothing about me or Ovyo or what I do or anything, and they go straight in for the kill. Hi, do you do this? We do this, and I'm like, just read my LinkedIn profile, you'll realize I don't do that. And so it's almost like that's the biggest mistake to avoid is if you're going to message somebody, read it through their eyes. If I received that, would that make me want to connect with them or reply to them? That kind of thing, you know? That's probably one of the, specifically when like reaching out to people, I'd say always think of that, like that personalization aspect.
Yeah, I think I have a, kind of connecting question to this. Like, liking, commenting is fine, but what is that thin line? How much is the good enough, and how much is, extra? Like, how much to like and how much to comment? Is there any guideline would you like to share on this?
So you mean in terms of like talking to a specific one person or in general?
In general, like, if we like and comment and share for say 10 allies per day, is it a good number, or how much is, like, what is that thin line in terms of balancing?
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, right? And it's one that I often clash with other like LinkedIn trainers on, right? So you'll notice if any of you have ever been on a LinkedIn training course, they'll always tell you, you must post every day, you must comment every day, you must like every day. And I turn around and say, but your job isn't marketing. You're not a content person. Most of the people I bump into in women in streaming and in the industry, they're engineers, they're project managers, they have day jobs. And that doesn't include posting every day on LinkedIn. So I say to people, don't think you have to do that just because it's LinkedIn and that's what you have to do to work LinkedIn, right? I say, do as much commenting and liking if you've got time for, right? If you're, say, not working, out of work, chilling, and you've got a lot more time than somebody who's in work, right? Well, then naturally you're going to comment and like and share more, right? But always just make it worthwhile, because people forget, right, that behind every single social media platform is an algorithm. LinkedIn has an algorithm. For anyone that's really interested in it, just Google LinkedIn algorithm report. And there's this 70-page document which tells you how to hack the LinkedIn algorithm if you want to. But in terms of just commenting and that, I would say don't go extra. If, say, for example, I'm going to keep picking on Katie because I spoke to her last night. Let's say Katie commented on 20 things today, right? All those comments come up in my news feed because I'm connected to Katie. And I don't think people realize that. They think if I do a post, it goes in everybody's news feed. True. But if you comment on something, that also goes in everybody's news feed. And a lot of people don't realize that. So if you do 20 comments a day, and that goes all the way down, oh, bye, Peggy. That goes all the way down the LinkedIn feed. So you have to be aware that a comment is just as powerful as a post, and people don't realize that. So just be aware that you don't want to flood your connections with 20, 30 comments a day. Now, if they're really interesting, engaging comments, fine, but then you're effectively a content creator, right? Do you see what I mean? So I would say, 1 or 2 comments a day, I think that's fine for a normal person. I genuinely just drop onto LinkedIn every now and then, drop a little comment, drop a like, that kind of thing. So yeah, I would say keep it moderate, and try and keep it on point. So, don't just talk about 17 different random things that are not linked, because then you'll be on about 20 different news feeds. It'll be popping up everywhere, but it's a mixed message you're sending, So another session I do is like thought leadership training and how to be seen as a thought leader on LinkedIn in your certain subject. And what somebody usually isn't, you're not a thought leader in engineering, politics, how LinkedIn works, and about 90 other things. So what do you want to be known as? What do you want to have your reputation as? Talk about that kind of stuff, So yeah, hope that helps a little bit and answers your question.
Yep. It's also, again, personalizing, right? Like creating a certain profile.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I will say people don't often underestimate this. People think LinkedIn is a lot about posting and a lot about sharing, right? The one thing that drives LinkedIn the whole of LinkedIn, it's commenting. And people don't realize this, right? Comments drive everything. It plays the algorithm. They're worth so much more. And the more original comment you can put, the more kudos you get and the more news feeds it appears in. So again, when I do training for salespeople, they think, oh, I must post every day about my new product or my new trade show or my this. I'm like, nah, if you comment on somebody else's post, that's just as powerful. And that's a big misconception with LinkedIn that not many people understand. So yeah, commenting is powerful, is what I would say.
Is it as powerful or more powerful?
I'd say it's the most powerful thing on LinkedIn is commenting. Because I say to salespeople say to me, how do I get the attention of this CTO? Right. So I'll say to them, what you do is you wait till he does a post and you wait till it's got about 100 likes on it and loads of engagement because it's a CTO. And then you do a comment which is more original than all the others. So if you do a comment which is well done, that's not very a juicy comment, right? So that and if you note by default on a post, the comments are always in the order of the most popular or the most relevant. Sorry. So I tell this story quite often. I once trained this lady. She worked for a car company and she was trying to break into BMW, and she wanted to get the attention of the BMW CTO to talk about her product. So we waited and waited until the CTO of BMW did this big post, and it got something like 800 likes. It was launching a new something on one of their cars. And I went, right, prime example for you to do a comment and for 800 people that have liked that post to get seen. So she was like, oh, what do you? So we wrote this comment. It was almost 2 paragraphs long. It was almost like a post within itself, but it was actually a comment. She posted it. The comment got about 110 likes. Now, and if you know LinkedIn, that's quite rare. A post can get that, but a comment. And then because of that, it got highlighted, it got promoted, it was everywhere. And then the CTO of BMW contacted her and was just like, hey, I did see a post and I agree with what you said. Let's have a chat. And she got the call with the CTO that she wanted. One comment did it, but it wasn't actually the comment. It was because about 10 colleagues of the CTO then commented on her comment and it got bigger and bigger. That comment was like flashing in his newsfeed all week. Do you see what I mean? So that powerful comment drives everything. So yeah, that's a little tip. We digressed a bit, but yeah, the power of the comment.
Yep. Okay, thank you for sharing. And so how can we also maintain and strengthen like relationships created in LinkedIn with allies?
Yeah, so it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? About staying in touch with them, right? Liking their stuff, engaging with their content, asking them their views, pulling them into conversations, tagging them. So that's what I do. Like my day job on LinkedIn is just that. I call it connecting the dots, right? I say I call it, a friend of mine calls it that. And it's basically just connecting people constantly. So if I see a post from somebody looking for a product manager, and I know several product managers, I'll tag a couple or I'll forward it to them and say, hey, take a look at this post by this person, right? And it's that general day-to-day connection, that general day-to-day being helpful. That's how I maintain relationships with people. Like I get commented by, I worked in recruitment for 15 years. I get candidates that I've kept in touch with on LinkedIn, over the years, the odd post, the odd like, even Ravinder, right? Me and Ravinder have spoke over the years about role. I don't think I've ever actually put you in a role, Ravinder, myself, but we've spoken, we've had into it, and now I'll always have Ravinder in the back of my mind, like if I'm looking for a program manager, for example, because we spoke once upon a time. And to the point where I got a message the other day from a lady. I actually placed her in a role in 2002 into an IT security role. She's now the global head of IT security at Centrica. Like she's been promoted 20 times. She was looking for a job. I haven't spoken to her in 22 odd years, but I've dropped her the odd like when she's been promoted. I've said congratulations. We've stayed in touch. Do you see what I mean? And then all of a sudden, because we've kept that regular contact on LinkedIn, when she did just so happen to look for a role, she pinged me first. And okay, I don't need a high cybersecurity person, but I was able to introduce her to 3 people in my network that were looking for someone like her, So I think that's what I mean about how do you maintain the relationships? It is keeping in touch, commenting, liking, that kind of stuff. It's just that's how you it's a repository of relationships, LinkedIn, I find. So yeah, I'd say that's the main thing.
Yep. Um, so changing a bit the subject, how can allies promote gender diversity and inclusion within the streaming media industry on LinkedIn?
Okay.
Is there, I mean,
So for allies, yeah.
mhm.
So, you know, I've learned, I'll have to say, I've learned from the best, right? So when I first got into the mentoring stuff that I've been doing, like the training and the LinkedIn and that, I got to meet, I went to a lot of meetups and events around like women in streaming. I mean, I've been to the NAB ones, been to the IBC ones and stuff like that. And, you know, you bump into other allies as you go, right? So I've had the pleasure, I think there's about 4 or 5 allies that I've met at trade shows, at various events. They're absolute legends. They go to all of the events, they promote, they help, and then they take it onto LinkedIn. So, you know, I think one thing I've seen them do a lot is they do the liking of the posts. Sounds silly, but when the organizations talk about it, like it, when you see stuff being posted by organizations supporting women in streaming, engage in it, right? And a lot of them do this. A lot of them have big, important jobs, you know, and they're very busy, but they do find time on LinkedIn to engage, to help, to talk about it, to promote about it. And even things like do a post about it, champion it, you know, and not every week, because then it just becomes you flood your newsfeed with it. But when you get success stories, talk about them, you know, like Stefan, I think from Bitmoving, who you probably know quite well, he was Ally of the Month. I've seen he's done a few posts over the last year or so about diversity and stuff. And I think that's what's great, you know, and I think it's that. I think it's allies need to talk about it. They need to put something on their LinkedIn profile to show they're an ally, right? So that it makes it easier for people to think, it's a safe person. You know, you get it. You're on our side. I think that's really helpful. I was even talking about, could we find a universal emoji that allies could use, or create one so that they could add it to their LinkedIn profile so that people would know. So that's a movement that, Dipali, we need to make this movement before NAB and IBC, because then all the allies to start to add it and people will just instantly go, right, got it. Do you know what I mean? So that was something I was thinking. But I think commenting on the events, mentoring programs, for example, when Women in Streaming or any other of the organizations talk about, you know, we're going to be doing a mentoring program, we're going to need some speakers, we're going to be doing a meetup at IBC, that's where the allies need to pop up, like, share, comment, right? Because that's what promotes it. A, it shows everyone you're an ally, and B, it's what spreads the word across the network, right? And it sounds weird, but when I first started helping people in the streaming industry, I spotted other allies that did it. So I was like, oh, you know, like there's people like Ian Wagdin from the BBC, and I spotted him doing a post about one of the events, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, why aren't I posting about that? You know, like I went to a meetup at IBC. I think it was like Rise, Women in Streaming, Gals in Gear. It was all of them came together for one event at IBC about a year ago or two, I think it was. And I was like, wow, got to post about that and just get it out there. And it raises awareness, you know. So I think that's one of the things that allies can do on their LinkedIn profiles, is just show that they're an ally, promote it. I think one of the things I saw, there was a guy called Mike, I want to say Mike Ward, and he did a post on LinkedIn a while ago talking about the diversity of panels on one of the trade shows and how well it was done, you know. And I think that's something that, don't be afraid to highlight that, because you can often be afraid that, if I highlight that the IBC will never let me come back because I've slagged them off, or whatever. And I think, you know, the allies that are not afraid to show and speak up for that is great. I go to every single industry event, and some of the ones that I love, there's the media production show in London, and then there's the DPP event. So anyone's members of the DPP, they're always so diverse. Every panel has got as many women as many votes, and they're always really interesting. Like those panels are interesting, because don't get me wrong, you know, men have been in this industry a long time and they've got loads to add, but there's only so many trade shows you can go to and listen to the same person talking about the same subject year on year, month on month for the last 7 years. You know, even I've only been in the industry about 10 years, and I could say I've seen the same person talk about the same thing at every trade show for the last 7 years. And you're like, you know, when you bring women onto the trade show, they bring a different angle and they bring different perspectives, you know. And so I think for me, the MPTS show DP really did that, like the last few events, and that's been really great. So, but I think allies should talk about that a little bit, you know, and promote that a little bit. And when they see a good panel, you know, I think I saw one panel at the MPTS show, and there was 5 women on it, and they were all people that I trained on LinkedIn. So I was just there like a little fanboy at the back taking a photo, like, we must put this on LinkedIn. And I was like, oh yeah, LinkedIn. And they forget. And I'm like, put it on LinkedIn. Why? Because this will showcase it and make others want to follow suit. So, you know, that's why I am. A lot of people always ask me, do I work for LinkedIn? And I'm like, no, but it's the way to amplify a voice. If you want to get a message out there, this is the way to do it. And so it's kind of like how I try and contribute to the cause is by, you know, helping others amplify their voices on LinkedIn a bit more. So yeah, I'd say they're the main things. I think they're the main things about what allies, I think, can do on LinkedIn, for sure.
Yeah, so the idea about the emoji, I really liked it, and I think we need to do it, Dipali.
Yeah.
I have some ideas already.
We were brainstorming ideas last night. We were like, oh, well, somebody said we'll do a chart or something. I was like, no, that's corporate. No, it's got to be something like a global something that allies can use to show I am an ally, I stand by it. Anyway, have a think about it. Maybe design one. See if we can get it signed off.
Yep. Good. My last question is a bit more personal. Like, how do you personally demonstrate allyship within maybe your company, like LinkedIn? I think you already shared, but within your company as well.
Yeah, so within my company, we've got about 120 people. I think about 100 of them are based in India, and I think we're at about 60% women. So we're quite strong on the female kind of, yeah, I think we've got a very good overall structure. And I think the thing I've always done, I think even from a very young age, right, and I'm talking school age for me, I've always tried to promote women, support women. You know, my mum is my superhero. My wife and my 4 kids, I now have a little girl as well, who's 18 months. So personally, I've always been a champion of women anyway, but I didn't realize how much and how different I was to others on how much I did that, if that makes sense. And I think for me personally, inside my company, it's little things like when you're in a meeting, and I'm not saying this happens in my company all the time, but when you're in a meeting and one of our female colleagues is talking, and either a client or I see a male colleague talk over them or end their point, it's having the balls to step up and go, shut up, they were speaking, you know, and let them carry on. So I kind of take that role in my company quite often, and with clients and with anyone, is that power them. And I think, you know, it's something I actually saw Stefan from Bitmoving talk about as well, I think on his Ally of the Month a few weeks ago, when he was talking about how, you know, when you're interviewing, always make sure you've got women interviewing equal, like women and men interviewing for roles. But also just champion women. When they do something great, champion them inside your company, post about it on LinkedIn, promote them, call them out, you know, because it is our industry is quite male dominated. So I think you have to always fly the flag, you know. So I do that myself, you know. Ovyo, we do it quite well. You know, we've got women in the leadership team. I have a woman that runs my India office, for example. And I think that sets the tone, because there's nothing worse than you apply for a job at a company, you go on their about page, they've got 26 people and no women. And you're like, wow, that's a sausage fest. And so there's so many companies that do that. And I think for me, I think that's where companies have just got to wake up. You know, like I saw a picture the other day and it was like, congratulations to our new leadership team on LinkedIn, 22 blokes. And I was like, come on, like even if that's the case, don't promote it. Like, don't promote it on LinkedIn. Like, you know, and that's what a lot of companies do. And you'll notice if you look at any of Ovyo's photos or trip to Goa last year that we did, you know, we're actually probably more female heavy than we are male heavy, you know. And I think companies need to do it. I think companies need to invest in it, need to do more about it, and need to invest in it, you know. And I think one thing, having my background in recruitment, right, more and more nowadays, candidates ask the question and go looking for it, you know. So I find it every day that when a candidate goes to apply for a job, they don't apply for a job and go, all right, I'm going to get a job. They go on the company's website. They go on the company's careers page. They look at who they know in the company. And this kind of thing, diversity, and do they promote women? Have they got women on the leadership team? You know, when they go to a trade show, do they have 60 blokes stood on a stand? Like, it's not what you want to see, and it's not the 21st century, dare I say it. So, you know, I think as a company, people have to have a responsibility to make an impact and change this. So, yeah, we do a good job at Ovyo, I think. I think we do.
Nice to hear. Nice to hear. Yeah. I mean, in the interviews, I also get quite often the question, does the company have any DEI initiatives?
Yeah.
And this is coming quite often.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Adam, so much. I have no more questions. I don't know, Dipali, if you have an additional question.
Let's ask our audience. Anyone on call has any questions? Or I have actually 2 questions.
Ooh. Oh, Nicola, you're on mute, or? Oh, no, you're not.
Your voice is thin, Nicola.
We cannot hear you. Maybe you can type. Did you connect your audio?
We can do sign language. Type it if you want, and type it in the questions and that. Yeah. Cool. Anybody else?
Okay. My question is, like, you know, most of the time, I feel fortunate, like, you know, wherever I'm connecting with the allies and asking them for the ally of the month, they are like, yeah, we are ready to help. Somewhere, you know, ally of the month happen only once in a month. But if you have to give the advice to the male in streaming media industry, what that 1 or 2 advice would you like to give to them to become a super ally? Like, what are those small actions or tips you want to give it to male allies in the industry to become a more, you know, advocates for the female in the industry?
I think I would say, so my own personal experience, right, is as you probably noticed, I love to talk, right? And I think one thing I've learned within the supporting women in streaming is to just shut up and listen. I know it sounds really a bit basic, but it's something that I didn't used to do a lot. And I think I've done it more and more now. With that, even last night was a prime example. There was I got to do some speed networking with some women in the streaming industry, and I just get to listen to their problems and their challenges, because what you don't know what a person's challenge is and what they're, you know, I wasn't even aware some of the challenges that women face until I just shut up and listened to them and was like, wow, really? Like that happened to you? Or, oh, you're worried about that? Yeah. Or just little things, random things, right? And so I think that's a tip I would say, is just take time to listen to people, you know, take time to say, how are you getting on? You good? Like, if you're going to take somebody to a trade show, don't be like, right, you're coming to the trade show for the first time ever. Good luck. See you there. Like, say to them, are you concerned? You know, like do you want to connect you with a buddy? Like, do you want me to put you in touch with somebody? I think that's something, is just listen to people and find out a bit more about them. You know, obviously, of course, support organizations like Women in Streaming, you know, get behind them, because without them, you know, a lot of this wouldn't be happening, this support that people get in our industry. So I think support them. And just don't be afraid to just ring fence some time to help people. You know, I think I told you, I started doing my support of women in streaming as a side hustle, because I was like, oh, I'll just help out this organization. And very quickly, it kind of became more of a passion project. And I don't think allies realize just how much you get out of it as well as an ally, realizing that you're helping people. You know, I think I got absolutely blindsided last night by a young mentee, a young lady in the video industry. I was meant to be asking them questions, and she asked me a question. She went, "What is the biggest achievement in your career?" And just ask yourself that now, right? Because it's really weird, because you don't actually go about yourself asking yourself that. You're like, I haven't actually been asked that ever. Like, when? And when I actually thought about it last night, it was actually winning the Ally of the Year award for me. So I was like, you know, I've spent all my life selling and building businesses and growing new industries and all the usual stuff. But actually, it was like, when somebody says, what's your biggest achievement? It was like actually helping people that genuinely don't know this stuff. I pass on my knowledge, and then it helps them, and they come back and say thank you and stuff. And so I think allies need to realize it's as much about, you know, they can really get some self-worth, some self-satisfaction of helping people, you know, and I think that's something that I've learned a lot over the last 2-3 years, is it's so rewarding helping people. because you just don't know how hard it is. So I don't. That's one thing I would say. That's a tip, but it's quite rewarding. What else?
Excellent. And Nicola has just typed her question. She want to ask, like, she's saying that I totally agree regarding the always sending personalized invites. However, recently LinkedIn has put a limit on a number of personalized messages. Do you think it's worth paying for premium?
Yeah, so I think it depends what everybody has a slightly different mission on LinkedIn, right? Personally, for me, if I'm in selling mode, big time selling mode, I need premium. If I'm in hardcore job hunting mode, I need premium, right? So I want to have premium because it gives you added benefits and stuff. And I think, don't forget, here's a little pro tip. You can always go in and take away your invites. So LinkedIn gives you a limit how many invites you can have out. What people don't know is you can actually go into LinkedIn, go to your sent invites, all the ones that you sent 6 months ago that haven't been accepted, get rid of them. And then it resets your limit a little bit. So that's one way to get a few more extra. It's quite hard to find. I think you have to go into your notifications. Then you have to click, where is it? No, network. There's somewhere in it. So you go into your invitations. Do you want me to share my screen? Then I can show you. Let me show you. Share. So you go into here, where you go into your network, and it will say invitations. And then you click see all 126, just there at the end. And then you click sent over here, right? And then you've got the ones that you've sent out that haven't been connected. So I've got ones from like, I don't know, look, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago. So there's ones here. So I would just withdraw it. Like, that guy wasn't interested in me, withdraw, right? So I go in and withdraw them and then basically get rid of them all. And then you'll have a lot more on the limit, is what I would say. I mean, Lisa's not even accepted me yet, Dipali. We need to have a word. I sent that a week ago. She looked at my profile last night and she decided she didn't want to connect with me. I'm like, no, I'm joking.
We'll definitely pass your message to Lisa.
Yeah, but that's one thing I would definitely say, if you can, Nicola. I mean, look, if you've just met somebody face to face and you've said, I'm going to send you a LinkedIn invite, less so reason to personalize. But if you've not met them, then, yeah, I'd say personalize is always better where you can. Yeah, because it stands out. Like if you look at your list of people that have sent you connection requests, blank, blank, blank. Hi, Nicola, would love to connect with you. But you at least respond, unless it's a boring sales message. Delete. That's what I do anyway.
Yeah, I think a lot of on this call and in general, like many of people can definitely relate with this one particular tip. And I have a last question for you, like from organization's point of view.
Yeah.
What are the metrics should companies use to measure the progress in gender diversity and inclusion? Because there are no standard message or standard metrics or any standardization in the industry for the same. And how can men contribute to achieving these goals?
Wow. So say that again. Let me think.
So what are the metrics should companies use to measure the progress in terms of gender diversity and inclusion?
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I mean, the obvious ones are making sure when you go through interview processes and things like that, you track how many women apply, how many men apply, how many people you shortlist, how many interviews. We do track our like how many people we employ, that are female or not. We do try and encourage. Look, we've got no female in the mix for this role. Are there any suitable ones out there? So we encourage to go back out to the market if we haven't. But I mean, in terms of metrics, I think a lot of it is just tracking the applications, the job world. It's that and taking the steps to improve it. So talk about diversity on the job. Little things like a company can have a page on LinkedIn called Life at Warner Brothers or wherever. They can have those things on LinkedIn. You can have them on your company page. And again, if you start to add things on there and showcase that you're a supporter of women and that they're diverse, if you get your C-level managers to talk about diversity and have it on their LinkedIn profiles, all of a sudden you'll see more women will apply for your roles. And I think that's it. I mean, metrics wise, it really is about applications, shortlists, interviews, offers, how many offers went out, and that kind of thing. And then, you know, every company's got to have a bit of a hit squad. I don't know what you call it. What was it? A committee. You know, inside every organization, big or small, right? Have a committee that will champion diversity. You know, so we made sure we have 1 or 2 on our leadership team, a female, definitely from day one. You know, I think employee number 3 was my director of India. And I think every company should be looking at that. You know, I read in the news, I think it was Microsoft or somebody recently laid off a whole diversity team. I think I read it last week, and they did it like it's no longer a business issue. What rock do you live under? So anyway, I don't believe in that. So I think companies need to track the metrics, keep an eye on it, look at it, and yeah, I think definitely they should do more of it.
Awesome. Any questions from the members on the call?
I don't have a question, but I was gonna add, I learned the hard way today that LinkedIn does have a limit on personalized notes when you're writing to people. I'll just have to wait a few days for the next month.
Yeah, they are trying to commercialize it a little bit. It's been like since Microsoft bought LinkedIn, and it's slowly but surely. You used to be able to do a lot more on the basic version. Now you kind of, if you want to do a lot more seriousness, you end up having to go premium or something, you know. But you know, I think for any half decent networker, you can do enough on the free, especially if you go in and delete and withdraw all the ones that you don't want. That keeps you going. You know, I think like, you know, you go through bursts, don't you, of like, oh, I've just met 60 people at a trade show. You know, it's just remembering every day to then send some invites out rather than I'll do 200 in one day, you know. So yeah, so I personally pay for, you know, I'm a networker, so I pay for premium. I say I pay, the company pays, obviously. But yeah. So it is, yeah.
Excellent. It was incredible to learn from you, Adam. You know, your journey from recruiter to chief growth officer is definitely incredible, and so much to learn from it. As we come to the end of this insightful discussion on how to leverage allies on LinkedIn, your professional success, I really want to thank you for sharing all these insights and valuable experience with our members. It's clear that building a supportive network for women in streaming media is essential and for boosting diversity. By lifting the voices, challenging the stereotypes, and supporting diversity, we make a fairer future for, you know, fairer possible future. As we conclude, let us carry forward with the momentum gained from this discussion. Together, we can definitely break the barriers, amplify the voices for women, and create a more supportive, inclusive streaming media industry for the women. Thank you, Adam, once again. Thank you, our members who has joined, and our wonderful allyship team for your participation today to dedicate this crucial conversation around the allyship and LinkedIn. For more discussions and collaborations with Adam, you can connect with Adam on LinkedIn. You can also send him a personalized message, and you can also reach out to us as an allyship team at allyship@womeninstreamingmedia.org. A quick reminder, our monthly remote member meetup, which happens every month, is going to happen next Thursday on July 25th at 9 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. EST, and 4 p.m. BST. Check out our LinkedIn page and website to find out who is going to be our guest speaker for this month. Don't miss the opportunity to learn the things. And stay connected by following us on LinkedIn, signing up on our website. Our monthly newsletter has a lot of information which is exclusive for our members. Your feedback is crucial, important. Do let us know what you liked, where you want us to improve. I have shared the feedback form in the chat window. And thank you so much, Adam, once again, for being such an outstanding ally. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, and see you in the next month to meet our next ally of the month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.